What's your name? Where you from? Why you do what you do?
State your name, gangster. Delon Fletcher. I'm from Connecticut originally, but I'm here in the greater North Carolina RDU region. I moved down here in 2004, roughly about 3.5 years after 9/11. At the time, I was a district director for a member of Congress, and so I supported 117 families that had victims of the tragedy.
I remember you posting something about that on Facebook, like you had to deal with a lot of personalities, emotions.
Yeah, a whole lot, and that was at a time where I knew nothing and was completely oblivious to mental health and just wellness in totality. I was the guy that when the government oversight committee was offering free mental health support for staff members in the government who helped to support the tragedy, I was one of the people who said, no, I don't need that. I'm straight, Jesus loves me, and so we're just gonna keep it moving. And he does love me, and he loves you too. However, what I learned maybe 2 to 3 years later, post-tragedy, when September 11th would roll by and I couldn't leave the house. I had to sit in very quiet spaces, didn't want to socialize with anybody, would only want to talk to people who either experienced the tragedy or even some of the family members of the victims that I'm still connected to. And I was like, yo, something ain't right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So what would you tell your 16-year-old self, about that journey? Or like, would you give your 16-year-old self a heads up? Like what would
Yeah, I would say I don't know everything. It's easy to feel like you do, and it's easy to feel like you got everything together, but we clearly don't. And I think sometimes there's a sense of ego pride that makes us afraid to be vulnerable and admit what we don't know, or when we're unfamiliar, or when we're in unfamiliar territory. And that unfamiliar territory usually gets us into some facet of trouble or something that we can't handle or resolve. But if we would have just said up front, hey, I'm new to this, what's the recommended solution to go forward that's going to create the least amount of damage or long-term collateral impact on me and my mental health? I wish I would have listened.
Okay. At 16? Mm-hmm. Okay. I know growing up in your era generation, mental health wasn't as big as it is now.
No, there was no mental health. My mental health was Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, De La Soul. If I really wanted to feel conscious, a little bit of Common, sprinkled that in. Then got into Mos Def, Talib Kweli, the earthy rappers. That was mental health,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There was nothing that early on for me, or at least not that I could readily identify. Even when I play it back, I don't see some of the cues and the prompts that I see now in educational institutions, even in college for that matter. I don't see anything that's encouraging. You gotta remember, I came from the Black Planet era.
Okay.
Wasn't nobody on Black Planet talking about make sure you protect your peace.
Yeah,
It was let me
self-care.
get up in that top 8. So we was crazy toxic. At the end.
Exactly. So like growing up during those times, what was like the worst advice you've ever received, but now you have to correct it? Because we have earthly wisdom and spiritual wisdom. So
Yeah. I think the worst advice, and this is going to sound very taboo, I think the worst advice was that, if your heart is pure, you can have anything that you want because you're a believer and you love the Lord. I'm like, that ain't true. I got to work for this, dog. I mean, I know Jesus now, like for real, not getting saved at every Wednesday night Bible study, but like I really know him now, right? And so that is not how he works. And when you grow up like me, very churched, with a mother who was very involved in church on a global level way back then, because I'm blessed. Yeah, you might be blessed, but where's your commitment? Where's your discernment? Where's your effort? Where's your studying to show thyself approved?
authenticity.
this Christian arrogance, I would say, was probably the biggest hindrance.
What's going on, good people? It's your boy Drees checking in. I hope everyone is having a great week out there, and like always, I hope the same for your mental health. Today, the man that I have sitting beside me, I'ma just take this moment before we go into it, because I know it's about to be a ride. This man right here, instrumental in my life ever since I met him when I was 13. I'm in my 30s now. That should tell you how long this mentorship, I call him my big brother. Like, he is a father, he's a husband, he's a son, he's a community leader, he is a pastor. And I see all five. All five. I've even moved away for a while, and he constantly checked up on me. Like, this isn't a community leader that is just doing it for clicks, likes, shares, comments. He's in the trenches every day. When I say in the trenches, he's getting mud. He's just, it's to the point to where I've seen him take multiple hits on the chin because he stands for what he believes in. He doesn't allow the community, the world, opinions to shake him. This is the person, the man that I strive to be every day. I know we're supposed to, try our best to be like Jesus, but this right here, the character, the authenticity, just the wisdom, like, I'm just thrown back at times because I have someone like this in my life, because mentors, they have come and they have gone out of my life. A lot of them have turned their backs on me because they thought I was hopeless. But this man right here didn't give up on me. There's been times where he'll pick me up in the Dodge Magnum. And if y'all know what a Dodge Magnum is, he would pick me up and we would just ride around, and it's not him always wanting to force his wisdom or knowledge on me. It was more of him wanting to listen to me, see where my head is at. That's where a lot of kids, that's where a lot of youth are at today. They just want someone to listen. And that's what I wanted growing up. I just need someone to listen. I just need to get it out. I just need to have a safe space outside of my family, because I grew up with a single mother, one sister, but I'm not gonna prolong, and it's not gonna draw it out any long enough as it is already. Ladies and gentlemen, my mentor, my big brother, Delon Fletcher. What's happening?
Oh man, I'm trying not to get emotional already. I ain't even answer no questions.
Nah, like this right here, I was trying to hold back the tears because it was like, this right here, this is family. And for someone that I can call family, I also take correction from. This is the authority that I put myself under, because he puts himself under authority. So when you see that your mentor submits to someone, that's a person that you could listen to. That's a person that you could take guidance from, take wisdom from, take correction from. And when he corrects, he does it with love. It's not no drill sergeant, nothing like that. He's first gonna tell me, well, I knew you were gonna do it anyway. And now that you did it, what did you get from it? I tell him, hey, this is what it made me feel like. This is what it did to me. I ain't going back no more. Like, I'm done with it, And then sometimes I find myself back in it, and I'll tell him, hey, big bro, I'm kind of struggling with that. Okay. It's not a I told you so moment. It's, okay, let's see how we can do this with love. And that's all that is needed. Love, kindness. But we about to get into it. I know your mission is to live, love, and what else is it?
Presence.
Presence.
That's my thing.
Okay, so with those key things right there, how do you take it into, because you work in the school systems as well,
Yes, sir.
and you also work in politics.
Yes, sir.
So how do you take those principles into those systems and not force it on people, but you introduce it in a way of, hey, here's a solution. And I've never seen, or you've never told me, but no one has ignored it. You know, I know, of course, you know, maybe they were like, okay, yeah, that's good, or, you know, okay, let's try it. But when you presented those principles in those systems, what was the feedback that you got back from them?
I think depending on the arena, sometimes there's a little bit of shock. There's a little bit of, you're just a little bit too happy, you're a little bit too kind. But ultimately, I found that moving through those pillars, it allows me to meet people where they are and understand something that I wish I would have understood as a child, that you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you're frowned upon for what you don't know. Everybody doesn't know politics. Everybody doesn't know the ins and outs of education, community organizing, advocacy, or what have you. And so I always feel that when I'm communicating, I'm sharing with people, let me first listen. And you kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. Let me listen to what or where you may be, and then figure out how I could share from wisdom, from experience, from failures, and from successes. Because it's not always about the peaks as much as it's about, we learn a lot when we're in the valleys. And I've had a lot of valley experiences in life. And so I think just trying to be approachable in a manner that says, hey, we can be safe intellectually without there being any sense of superiority. And we can collectively hone in on what we're trying to accomplish, and let's motivate each other, empower each other to get there.
So when you take that, I would say, because this is one of your gifts when it comes to speaking, right? When you use that gift to lead, are you also able to follow?
I believe so. You know, submission is a tricky thing, right? And so I do believe my faith is something that always keeps me grounded and keeps me focused. And, you know, there are things that I want to do that my faith doesn't allow me to do. And so that's submission in practice. I have countless mentors, speakers, colleagues, comrades who keep me sharp in this work, who I heed wisdom from when I'm going through something. If I want to venture out and try something new that I haven't done, I am nowhere on the totem pole where I can't take a couple of steps down and be like, hey, how did you get this to work? Because this ain't clicking for me. And I know Troy could attest to that, because I've called him countless times just to share knowledge and just to share experiences in this space of outreach and advocacy, and particularly trying to be a voice for the voiceless, which is the youth, in my opinion.
Okay. So being a voice for the voiceless, right? Like, it's all about being a sponge.
Absolutely.
Because you go into these environments and you soak up a lot.
Yeah.
when you are soaking up a lot, you feel the cry. You know,
Absolutely.
going to tell us about. I don't know. We're gonna be here all day. Oh, give me I guess a story where you went into these environments and you may have thought, oh, I bit off more than I can chew, but you learned something from it.
Absolutely. I think the first one that sticks out to me. So I love all the students, all the folks that have the privilege of serving, be it in the community, be it in the school system. And I can remember when I first got in there, one of my mentors now, Dr. Greta Marie Dula, said, "Oh, look at this baby. He came up into this school with this Brooks Brothers suit and this iPad. These kids is gonna eat him alive." And sure enough, by day 2, I was like, yo, did I come to the right place? Can I really do this? But I had no understanding of how much children pack with them when they make their journey into the school. And so it's not about getting kids just to be quiet, to stop joking. You're dealing with kids who haven't had anything to eat, kids who've watched their parents get incarcerated, kids who are victims of abuse and things of that nature, kids who are going through real life while we're still putting expectations on them. Can you get through this math, baby? Can't nobody think about no math hungry. Can't nobody think about no ELA when somebody is hurting, or watch their loved one, their guardian get hurt, or if they're dealing with grief and loss. And so for me, it was like an avalanche, because I was like, oh my gosh, how do some of these babies make it through the course of the day? Yeah. Because it's intense. And I didn't feel that I was equipped enough, even though I felt that I've had similar experiences growing up. I did not feel equipped enough to be able to reach them. And so that was tough for me at first. It took a lot of practice. It took a lot of opening myself up, being more vulnerable with folks that are in this space who do the work. I have so many educators who invested into me. I can go on and on for days. I could talk about Tara Delgado, who taught me about advocacy and the value of. I could talk about Jennifer Zeza, who taught me that every kid deserves a chance, and that on our worst day, we can still be the best option for some of our students and those that we are working to serve and support. It just goes on and on and on. And so, but it was scary because I was like, man, I ain't trying to mess no kids up and being, toxic, or like the dad from Everybody Hates Chris. Somebody comes into my room upset, and I'm like, hey, suck it up, go back to class. When the reality is that individual may have needed an opportunity to be heard from by an adult, so that they could come to grips with their still learning to understand that they are feeling, because some of the things that they are feeling in such an early age, it's a result of trauma and things that are happening in their homes and in their community, but they don't know how to put words to it just yet. So how does it come out? Disengaged in class, not connected to the teacher. Maybe I'm having a difficult time socially engaging with other youth. Maybe you're seeing a lot of dominance from me. Oh, I got that. No, you don't. I got this. Mine is better. Bam, punch you in your face, right? It's what you see, because that's how it's coming out for some of our students.
Okay. We talked about you being a sponge and soaking up, a lot of energies and emotions when you walk into these classrooms. And I guess the lady that saw you come in fully suited, your tech gear and all that, what is it about fatherhood that has been, I guess, the humbling experience for you? Because these kids in the classroom, of course, humbled you on the second day.
Yeah.
But how do you take fatherhood into the classroom, but also how has fatherhood shaped you?
I think fatherhood has shaped me by allowing me to be a lot more vulnerable. When I was younger, I didn't have my father living with me. And so I grew up very guarded. Okay. And I grew up guarded to a point where you couldn't get next to me. It got to a point where my mom said, listen, I can't teach you how to be no man, boy. And so she taught me that there are some people that I will have to learn how to go through and go to, so that I could learn to receive some of the things that I wasn't naturally receiving, because my biological father and I were not connected. My parents were divorced. And so I have a series of 3 people that were extremely instrumental. One was my Uncle Mark, who was just a comedian, a chef to the stars. My other is a gentleman by the name of Hayward Russell Hicks, who was like the definition of cool for me. If somebody would have told you about the Black Godfather before Clarence Avant, you would have thought it was Russell Hicks.
Okay.
And then my third was a gentleman by the name of Eric Martin White, who taught me business and not to be afraid to trust God in the marketplace. And so I had to extract from all three of those individuals to help shape the dad that I became for my own kids. And there was a point in time where it got a little bit resentful, because when you're growing up and you have children of your own and you say to yourself, well, I didn't really get this experience that I'm trying to provide for them to fidelity, you kind of second guess and you judge as to whether or not you're really putting forth the best effort or that you're doing a good job. My wife would tell me that I was the amazing dad. My mom would tell me, folks would just say, oh, you're doing great. This is the way it's supposed to. Look at your kids. I can see you love. But I still felt like I wasn't adequate enough, because I felt like I didn't have the same experience that my kids have with me. So I felt like I was doing it blindly.
Okay.
And so fatherhood would really challenge your vulnerability. It'll challenge your humility, all of which I feel that you need when you are meeting people who you've never met before and you don't know where they're coming from.
Okay. So you said something profound about what your mother said. Dr. V, hello. She couldn't help you or teach you how to be a man, right? My mother said the same thing to me, but in a way she was trying to show me or help me to be a man. When you deal with the youth, especially when it comes to young Black boys in the classroom, what is it that you see that they need that they're not telling you, but you see it? You know, I know it could be, hey, some maturing in certain areas. It could also be, hey, you need to get a little bit strict with, you know, with whatever you got going on, and you need to be accountable. So dealing with just specifically young Black boys, or just young boys in general, in the classroom, outside of the classroom, the neighborhoods that you go to, how do you use fatherhood for that?
Well, and that's such a loaded question.
I know.
Because you could walk into it and it's a minefield. I've seen men try to father kid and get laid out on the floor, because again, you don't know what somebody else has been through with their dad, or the flip side, without their dad. And so when you think of those communities, there are some that don't always have their dad in their midst, and you can't walk up in there like super dad because they don't know what super dad looks like. That seems weird to me. I'm uncomfortable. And so what I've learned is that when I'm serving and connecting with folks in the community, I understand that they are guarded because of where I may come from or what I may be. And so I always try to bring myself to a level that says you could still find safety in communication with me, or we could still talk about what this objective or this goal is, but you can't do that from a lens of superiority or entitlement. And I've seen men do a lot of damage to a lot of good kids because they were trying to teach them and drive something in them that they had no connectivity with by no fault of their own. They just didn't have it. And so the expectations, look a man in the eye, always stand up when you shake his hand, never sit you back to the door. You take all these little rules and you try to become something that you don't even see modeled. And so when we engage and connect, I can't be that. I got to start completely low, and then I could just pull back layer by layer, piece by piece, and then you could start to see the totality. And once you see the totality, you still have the decision to say, I either want this or I don't.
See, that was his approach with me. And the reason I say The reason I say that was his approach with me is because, just like he said, if you would have came at me 13, I had no father around. Male role models coming and leaving, mentors coming and leaving. So you approaching me, and they had the same approach that he just said, trying to tell me this is what you're gonna do and this is how you need to be. And it's like, okay, first of all, I've never had this around me before. You know, let's start there. And yes, I was combative because it's like, bro, you don't know me. You haven't taken the time to get to know me. That's what I'm saying. It's like all these kids, the youth, just really need someone to listen first, and then okay, let's chop this up, and we're gonna work piece by piece, brick by brick,
There it is.
as you say, and we're going to build up because a lot of mentors or whatever, talk down. So you have to build the youth up before you come in and, you know, telling someone what they're going to do, giving orders and commands. Because like I said, he can correct me, and I can take that correction without being combative. He's done it to me before. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to become better listeners. And I know.
Hold up. Listeners, but also be able to comprehend.
Yeah, that too. That too. You got to be able to comprehend what you're hearing as well.
Yeah.
But the baseline is you have to be able to hear people without already running to conclusions of your own expectations of your desired outcome. Hear it for what it is. And when you do, don't run from that.
How has, you know, we talked about fatherhood, we talked about, you know, being a leader, you know, in general, period. How has being a pastor, you know, helped you lead the community?
I think it comes down to the basic principles, or what I see as the basic principles of being a pastor. You're shepherding a flock. And I think the biggest thing for me is the willingness to leave the 99 for the one, because it's the one that I am constantly focusing on. And there are certain challenges that I've seen take place within the community where we don't want to get next to it with a 10-foot pole. It could be because we don't understand it. It could be because it's intimidating, or we just flat out have no desire. But my philosophy is that's still a sheep. That's individual, in my opinion, still belongs to somebody greater than me. And so I feel my responsibility is to be able to aid in those situations and at least take the effort to say, you know what, I reached. And that was the reason why when I first formed my first nonprofit, it was entitled Just Reach. I don't need descriptions, I don't need qualifiers, I just need to reach, with the goal of being there for them no matter where their and location may actually be. Can you reach that person? Are you willing to reach that person? And so I carry a lot of that with me.
So it's okay. So it's like your character. It's not how you don't act different behind closed doors than you are out in public.
Nah, dog.
You the same.
What you see is what you go get.
Exactly. It's authenticity. That's what I'm hearing, because it's like for you to, like I'm gonna keep saying this word, be in the trenches. You know, you get dirty.
Yeah.
You know, just to find that one or bring that one back. And sometimes they do put up a fight.
Yeah.
Now, what is a story that, hey, I tried my best. I tried my very best. But you were able to say, I'm good. My mental is fine. I know what I did. I gave it my all. What's the story that you have for that?
There's a lot of those stories, and I think sometimes, you know, we never talked about the shots that your favorite athlete missed or never made. We only talk about what they did, right? I read something once that said we We've never seen Usain Bolt on TV for longer than a total of 26 minutes out of the tenure of his career because he's running short sprints. But while we've never seen him for longer than 26 minutes, he's been practicing for 20 some odd years. And you have your failures. And when you're working with students, you're working with youth, you'll find that no matter how much you want to reach them or how bad you want to reach them, there are some that are dealing with things that are beyond your nexus of support and control. And sometimes they don't know it,
Exactly.
but they're experiencing it with you. And the goal is for them to experience that in safety with you. While you're might not be able to bring the solution, you at least have to say, this is where you go from after here, because, and for some that might be mental health counseling, it might be an intensive therapy. For some, they might have to check in for some facet of residency support. And there's no downside to either one of those verticals. What needs to be done to preserve your mental real estate just flat out needs to be done. But we have to know what our limitations are. I've seen a lot of saviors in this space where there are folks who think they have what it takes to manage and to help lead. They may not be credentialed to do such. And sometimes when they think that they're empowering somebody, they're really leaning on that individual's trigger. And that doesn't support growth. That's not going to support them developing to the functional global citizen that they could be. What it does is it still keeps them in that box. And so you got to know your limitations, and you can't go beyond what those limitations are. And they're different for everybody, right? Going out at 2:00 in the morning in the middle of a hurricane to go help somebody who may have been abandoned, that's not out of my limitation, but that might be outside of yours. And that doesn't make you less of a reacher than me as a reacher. We've got different strengths, and that's what I love about the Avengers, right? Hawkeye was the most plain dude ever. Straight up piece of bread. But boy, he don't miss. He's not the Hulk. He ain't got $1 billion like Tony. He ain't smart like Bruce Banner. He's not manipulative like Black Widow. He can't increase his scale like Mr. Ant-Man. And he's not like Captain America. He just don't miss.
Exactly.
And so once you tap in to know what that strength is that you've got, it's always best to stay in it and not exceed it. I like to talk, now in different spaces because I was compared to a lot of people and a lot of people are compared to me. And that makes competition when people need support. We're comparing, well, you can't do it like Fletch can, or you can't do it like Dries can. Well, you don't need to as long as you do it. Why do we have to weaponize this skill set that we have to help support others against each other's? This ain't rap. You know what I'm saying?
I get you.
We don't have to be like, I don't know, we don't have to be like, who is it? Cardi B and Nicki right now. Like,
Or Kendrick and Drake.
It's ratchet, right? Why? Because two people just can't flat out be dope at what they could do.
Exactly.
There can only be one. We seen it with Mike and Prince. It's just the game. But the reality is that still two completely different verticals. They made amazing music. Let that be, and let's affirm and support each one of them as they're doing it.
So can that be like when you're walking in your purpose, there is no competition?
Yeah, because my purpose is tailor-made to me. It's for me. It fits me. The way my purpose has been designed, I cannot put it on you. And not to turn back into the preacher hat and to switch, but you all know the story about David fighting Goliath. The first thing they wanted to do was put Saul's armor on David to go fight, but it was too big. He had to fight in his element as a shepherd. It was better for him to fight that giant like he was fighting a lion or a bear, something that was going to come for his sheep, rather than to fight like an experienced or an accomplished warrior with the most meticulous armor. It's like if we got on the basketball court right now. If I came out with the leg sleeve, the Jordan 6s, the wrist guard, the red shorts, the white Jordan shirt, and, little elbow pad, it might look like I'm going to do something, but I can toss straight bricks, double dribble, can't rebound to save my life, sucking on my asthma pump as soon as we hit half court. I got to fight in my armor. And that's what we have to do as we're serving. Do it the best way that you know how.
Exactly. So when you start to compete, that's when you start to when you start to compromise, or I cannot think of the saying. When you start to compete, that's when you start to compromise.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's true.
When you start to compete, you start to compromise. If David would have worn the armor, what would have happened? Probably would have knocked Goliath out.
Oh.
And if he's sitting here showing up in all this gear on the basketball court, knowing that, hey, this is going to compromise my mobility, this is going to compromise my playing skill, I shouldn't be wearing this, but I want to show or dress the part, that right there, just be who you are. We all have an assigned purpose. All right. So I have the honor and privilege of being social media friends with this man as well. And if you follow him, you will see some wisdom being given, and at the same time, some shots being given too. So you recently shared a powerful message about why we're losing the next generation. Saying we can't heal what we won't touch, and you remind us of a time when the body ran toward the bleeding. What was on your heart that at that time when you wrote that, and what do you believe we need to do to reconnect with our youth?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So this is rare because I don't often get to speak in this capacity.
Please go off.
Because I'm traditionally in
you even posted something today.
I'm traditionally in a pulpit, right? And so anytime that I'm in a pulpit, I'm always mindful that everybody doesn't have the same lived experience as me. And so I shouldn't make the assumption that the experience that I have is the dominant or the preferred way to go. I shouldn't make that assumption. When I wrote that, I was finding myself in a point of frustration. We're going through a lot right now as a society, politically. There are just so many different moving parts, and be who you want to be, love who you want to love. I don't care what set you claiming, blue, red, green, it don't matter to me. But what I've noticed is that we found so much alignment with these beliefs that we no longer start to implement what we were taught in the gospel. And I see that. I see that not from a church lens, I just see that from a humanity lens. When we're seeing people walk by those that are in need, those that are in suffering of no fault of their own. And it can be politicized, or it can be turned into, well, that's not my job, that's not my responsibility. I made that statement because I'm probably going to teach on this on Sunday, so don't release this just yet. When the woman had the issue of blood, no matter how many times or how many people were around Jesus as Jairus was at Jesus's feet in that moment, he felt that something went out from him. Nothing can go from him that he doesn't desire. So that shows me that he can be arrested by urgency, because Jairus held his feet. As he moved through the crowd again, he was interrupted and said, something left from me because somebody touched me, even though that there were thousands of people around him, most likely. So what is that showing me? We have to be able to respond to urgency. And right now, we are seeing urgency in our communities due to gun violence. We're seeing urgency with our youth who are experiencing loss on an unprecedented scale, whether it's looking at it through social media, whether it is their peers, or whether their peers are making the decisions that are throwing their lives away. It is way too much loss. Do we need to sprinkle in suicide as well? It is way too much loss. And what baffles me is I don't feel like I see enough people running toward it with solutions. And I know there are other people out there that are doing the work. There are people that we don't even see and know that are doing the work. And I pray God's blessing and strength and fulfillment for each and every one of them. But I wish when we're seeing things happen on such a grand scale, I wish that the body was standing up. I wish that the body was at least present. I'm not saying that they have to break laws or do anything that's going to impact anybody's safety. No, but presence is a powerful thing. At least be there. If you are going through a situation and your benefits may have been cut, or maybe you got a reduced amount and you didn't know what your tomorrow was going to hold, that ain't my problem. Dang. What can I do to at least support you? I might not have the money to support you, but what can I do to bring awareness to your need? If you were an individual who was dealing with naturalization, I'm not saying that what's happening is right. It's gotta be terrifying. But where is the presence that says, no, I'm not gonna fight law enforcement, I'm not gonna do this, but at least say, in your moment of pain, I'm gonna be here with you. If Christ could sit there and say, boy, if you don't get down from that tree with your old crooked self, Zacchaeus the tax collector, I'm gonna come into your house. I know these people hate you. Come off of your safe space and let's go to your house. I wanna be with you. Why? Because I think Jesus did more things, more miracles, just simply through his sheer presence. It didn't take 30,000 people to plan things. It didn't take 30,000 meetings and Zooms and WebExes. It took presence. I had a very tough time 5 years ago, maybe now, to this day, give or take, where 4 young men who I knew lost their lives in an automobile accident, and they were all under the age of 16. And when that happened, I can remember being out on Martin Luther King Boulevard in downtown Raleigh at the statue with over 350 grieving kids. I'm talking kids. And as I looked through that crowd, it was hug after hug. We're gonna do what we can. Let's stay close. We were praying. We were crying. But as I looked through that crowd, because there was no cameras present, there were no other people present to say, hey, take this card, it's free mental health services. Where was community mental health in those moments? There was no, hey, listen, I know y'all hitting this reposado really hard, man, but if that ever gets a little bit too overwhelming for you, here, these are free services if you need help with any addiction. Where are the people who pull millions and billions of bucks in grant funding to serve the public when crises hits? We cherry pick the moment. But let there be a balloon release. Let there be some news cameras there. I will find every faith leader and their mama. That's not enough. We can't have phantom presence. It's gotta be real because you care about the community so much, right? But it's the community that you don't live in. Sorry. Oh, you don't live there. And so you get to go back home. Meanwhile, you watch the suffering. No, Nobody's telling you to divest yourself of all your assets and everything you got.
Yeah.
But you can at least be there so somebody can see you. There's a phrase that we use in my line of work. It's called, you can't be what you can't see. They get mad. The church gets mad. In particular, when you see the voodoo priest, and the voodoo priest has hundreds of kids that look up to him. You know why? Because the voodoo priest ain't afraid to come out into the community. He ain't got no adjutants.
Nope.
He ain't got no security.
Nope.
He's stepping with some powerless beads. But you know what? He gets respect because he shows up. He gets respect because he makes himself available. Half of these people that are hurting, who are going through the motions, they can't even get through to their pastor. There are barriers that prevent you from getting through to your leadership. But this is the cloth. This is the cloth. And it can't touch this.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if we can't, then what are we doing to these kids? I'm not saying I'm the Jesus Christ superstar. No, I know that I'm a vessel and I'm willing to be in position to serve when there's no recognition, when there is no fanfare, there is no hype. I got people who still can't tell you what I do because I don't even brag about what I do. Very few people know. If you understand what I do, you'll understand that it can't be publicized.
Wow.
Because as you said, trench work doesn't look good on the cameras.
Nope.
Trench work could feel like exploitation of somebody's vulnerability, somebody's suffering, and somebody's need. I might take a selfie with you, but you'll never see anybody that I'm really working with unless they're in a position that's above board.
Wow.
And it's got to be like that. It ain't about the notoriety or the recognition. It's about pure service. And that's the thing that drives me, regardless of my title setting. I done been through boardrooms. I just left the courthouse. I done been in the jails. I done been in the trap houses, and you could pick a side. It don't matter to me. They're all his.
I love this man. Okay. All right. One moment. All right. Just one moment. Oh, man. All right. So, this right here, sir.
Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Trap gear.
Yeah. Like, and these shirts, t-shirts, hoodies,
My guy.
this right here is like it's not a fashion, it's not just a fashion trend. You know, it's an actual lifestyle.
Absolutely.
You know, this shirt I created, or hoodie, excuse me, I created just to show support for people who are going through mental health crisis. Or if you may be going through mental health crisis yourself, this right here is something to show support. You know, and I know, yeah, sometimes it may look fly with your fit. I have no problem with that. But this right here is a walking message. When you trap conscious, that means you are thinking smart about the decisions that you make. When trapped in, you trap out, be a living product by choice, you chose to live. You chose to wake up every single day, 10 toes on the ground, ready to take on the task of that day. You know, I know this is fly.
Yeah.
But this right here is just to show support for whomever that you are around. Maybe show support for yourself when you're feeling, you know, your moods, going through the motions, sitting in your feels. You know, but just be smart about your decisions. Trap conscious.
Absolutely.
Right? It's you.
Oh, man.
That's you.
Oh, ooh, good quality. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, you have no idea how proud I am of this movement, but more importantly, just how proud I am of you. yielding yourself to do this work. This is an inspiration, just this slogan in itself. And I know I'm not like have the best word box when it comes to language about marketing, but this is really it's a beacon. And that's why when I teach, when I travel, it is this trap conscious sticker that's on my laptop, out facing to everybody, because one, I'm proud of you, authentically just proud of your fight, your tenacity, your consistency, and everything that you've been doing. Like, I am proud of you, Sean, for real. Like, you are a blessing, and you don't even know just yet how much of an impact you're going to have just through this framework. This, when I wear it, it gives me something to brag about. Even the shirt that I have, it gives me something to brag about to people, and they're drawn to it because it doesn't immediately make them connect to mental health until they get the understanding and the explanation. And then it's just, yo, that's kind of fly. I said, I know my old boy did it. You know what I'm saying? Big up to the youth down here. And so I love what you're doing. I love the impact that you're having. And I'm loving how you're learning more about yourself and more about your capacity to continue to reach. And so keep going, man. Keep going. The love is real.
Appreciate it. When trapped in, you trap out. Trap conscious, be fruitful where you are planted, and always be a living product by choice. Trap out.
Oh, man.
Appreciate you, big bro.
Always, dude.
Love you.
This was dope. Love you back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got another sticker so I could put it on my iPad.
Yeah.